February 2026, the Eastern Mediterranean. The ocean does not offer comfort. It is not a sanctuary, nor is it a theater for blind heroism. It is a cold, unforgiving buffer zone, measured strictly by mathematical constants, fluid dynamics, and thermodynamic laws. Right now, the United States Navy is anchoring the most expensive, highly complex machine in the history of human warfare in this exact body of water. 100,000 tons of forged, nuclear-powered steel, the USS Gerald R. Carrier Strike Group 12. It sits on the water not merely as a ship, but as a sovereign island of American industrial capacity, projecting a hemisphere of absolute lethality. But projection requires reach, and reach is dictated by geometry. Look at the tactical map. Look at the raw geometric coordinates. The primary objective for this strike group does not reside on a contested beachhead or a shallow coastal shelf. The target is not on the shoreline. The enemy is the integrated air defense system of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Deeply buried S-300 PMU-2 and Bavar 373 missile batteries hide within the jagged fault lines of the Zagros Mountains, shielded by millions of tons of natural rock and earth. The distance from the flight deck of the CVN-78 to that interlocking wall of radar energy is staggering. It is over 1,240 nautical miles. Here is the ultimate tactical paradox that confronts the strike group commander. Look up at the 4.5-acre flight deck of this supercarrier. Despite the $13 billion price tag of the vessel beneath your feet, you will not find a single fifth-generation F-35C stealth fighter. The primary kinetic sword of this carrier strike group is the FA-18E and F Super Hornet, a legacy platform, an undeniably capable fourth-generation airframe, but one bound by strict thermodynamic reality. It has a maximum loaded combat radius of roughly 500 nautical miles. What happens when the ultimate symbol of American power is seemingly paralyzed by the sheer scale of geography? If the enemy knows the exact physical limits of your internal fuel tanks, how do you break the equation before it breaks you? How do you shatter a face that sits firmly outside of your physical reach when every available weapon seemingly falls short of the target? The obsolete, muscle-driven doctrines of the 20th century will tell you to simply push forward and accept the attrition. Old logic demands that you string together thousands of nautical miles of flying gas stations, exposing massive vulnerabilities in the sky, and order your aviators to fly straight into the teeth of the enemy's surface-to-air missile rings, relying purely on speed and electronic jamming. Today, we reject that suicidal math. Blind courage does not generate lift. Bravery does not alter the ballistic trajectory of a Mach 6 interceptor, nor does it magically create fuel in an empty tank. Instead, we dissect exactly how the engineers and tacticians of the United States Navy strip down their machines and reassemble them into a distributed kill web. The weapon is no longer the explosive warhead alone. The weapon is the network. If you are proud of the cold, unyielding mathematics of American naval supremacy, type "proud" in the comments. Before we engineer the solution, we must autopsy the constraints that make this mission seemingly impossible. The primary enemy in this theater is not the Iranian Revolutionary Guard or their fortified bunkers. The enemy is aviation mathematics. The enemy is physical friction. We start with biological friction. A machine can be refueled, but a human operator cannot simply be rebooted. The USS Gerald R did not sail fresh out of its home port in Norfolk, Virginia, with a fully rested crew. It was violently redirected from a high-pressure, high-tempo deployment in the Southcom area of operations. The 4,500 American sailors on board had been floating in a steel box for over 237 consecutive days. A-1B nuclear reactors can operate for 50 years without flinching, generating limitless power regardless of the hour. But the human nervous system has a hard, uncompromising limit. How long until the human operating system crashes under the weight of thermodynamic exhaustion and disrupted circadian rhythms? You cannot mandate focus when the brain is bleeding from fatigue, and adrenaline can only mask the degradation of fine motor skills for so long. And yet, time has run out. The geopolitical landscape has shifted, erasing the luxury of a delayed strike. National Reconnaissance Office satellites, positioned in low Earth orbit, LEO, have just transmitted a Category 1 intelligence drop directly to the Carrier Intelligence Center. Deep inside the Zagros Mountains, Iranian strategic forces are pumping highly volatile liquid propellant into a barrage of Segil medium-range ballistic missiles. Liquid fueling is the final, irreversible step before a strategic launch. The countdown timer on the launch authority is estimated at precisely 4 hours. If the Ford cannot systematically dismantle the air defense grid protecting those silos to allow for a deep penetrating strike, the entire theater burns. The stakes are absolute. But forcing this strike introduces the sortie generation rate paradox to overwhelm the Zagros air defenses and secure the airspace for heavy bombers. The Ford cannot simply send a handful of jets. It must trigger its surge rate, an unrelenting 270 combat sorties in a single 24-hour cycle, designed to physically drown the enemy's tracking capacity. Do the math on this requirement. The cruise speed of a fully loaded Super Hornet, fighting the atmospheric drag of external fuel tanks and heavy ordnance, is roughly 450 knots. A round trip of 2,480 nautical miles equates to a continuous flight time of nearly 6 hours per aircraft. In the highly synchronized environment of carrier operations, turnaround time is everything. You cannot mathematically achieve 270 sorties a day if your primary assets are missing from the deck for a quarter of the day. If a jet is airborne for 6 hours, it is not being refueled, rearmed, or inspected by the deck crew. The flight deck starves for airframes. The laws of logistics flatly deny the possibility of a sustained surge under these geographic conditions. And if your solution is to drag the United States Air Force into the fight by placing KC-135 Stratotankers near the Iranian border to extend the Hornet's reach, that is the tanker kill zone. These tankers are vital, but their radar cross-section shines like a supernova on early warning radars. The enemy does not need to engage in complex dogfights with nimble Navy fighters. The enemy just shoots the gas station. If the tanker drops, the entire strike package is immediately starved of fuel, forcing them into the ocean. It is a failed equation. The clock is ticking down from 4 hours. To win, the Navy must fundamentally rewrite the laws of aerial warfare.